So during the convention, I had a number of moments where I saw people and met people and kind of had a 30-second geek out or like, wow, that's him, or wow, that's her. And one of those people that happened with was at the DNC was none other than Sherman Dilla Thomas, who was with us this morning. And all I'm going to say is, brother, welcome to the show. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
If I wasn't such a fan of this station, no way on earth I'd be up at 7:30. I really, really appreciate the truth telling you all do. So, I got up.
There you go. There you go. Well, we'll send you a cup of coffee and whatever your favorite morning beverage is. But listen, man, first and foremost, right out of the gate, I have to congratulate you on your new appointment and such a well-deserved role for you that's been telling truth and historical truth about the city of Chicago and the greater area for a long time. And, as a lifetime Chicagoan myself, you are truly a champion of all things Chicago, but certainly the South Side. And now, as you're taking on this role with DuSable Black History Museum, during the Black History Month, what better time to be able to celebrate you and celebrate your ambassadorship? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, thank you for that. So I am now the brand ambassador and the chief of social media for the DuSable Museum of Black History and Education Center. And I'm really honored to have that post. My primary role will be to engage with younger folks, engage with folks that spend a lot of time on social media, and try to get them to understand that this institution is not just a vital part of Black Chicago, but it's a vital part of all Chicago. All Chicagoans, regardless of their ethnicity or the demographics that they come from, should be extremely proud that in our city, the oldest Black History Museum is in Chicago, and so we want to tell those stories. Perhaps you live in Andersonville or all the way over in Edison Park, and you didn't have a chance to get to the South Side as much as you like, but maybe we could bring those exhibits to Instagram and to TikTok and get folks involved. So I'm looking forward to creating programming and really uplifting the mission of the museum.
And we're excited about that as well because of what you just said. The broader, one of the things that I've said for a long time, and you're in a role now to be able to highlight that is, Black history is American history, and to the end that people have an issue with there being a Black History Month. It's American history. So are you saying we shouldn't have a History Month for the United States of America? But more specific to the role that you're going to be in, there are lesser known. Not lesser known. There are communities that don't know enough about the history of the city, not just the Black history of the city, but also the other ethnic groups and their history of the city. Now, granted, we know that we have a strong, diverse, melting pot of a city. But we also have some uniquenesses that you're going to be able to highlight. And I'm really excited about your ability, because you do have such a strong social media presence, to be able to put those things out there for folks. That's going to be exciting for you.
Yeah, I'm looking at ways to cross-collaborate in order to highlight exactly what you just said, right? What does it look like to get the Chicago Mongolian American community to come have programming at the DuSable Museum? I bet you most Chicagoans don't know that there are more Mongolian Americans living in the Chicagoland region than any other area in our country, right? And so Rogers Park has, maybe the third largest demographic of indigenous Native American folks living there. We have a beautiful and amazing Japanese American community, right? If you are worried about a tornado, right, they're going to say it's an F1 or F2. The F in tornado stand for Theodore Tetsuya Fujita, who was a University of Chicago meteorologist. And he's one of the guys that kind of anchors Japanese Americans here in our amazing city. And so I want to tell those stories. And in many instances, those stories connect right back to Blackness in our city, and that, again, should make our city proud. One of our most amazing neighborhoods, right, is Chinatown. Everybody knows where Chinatown is. As soon as you get off the train on Cermak, we all go down there to eat, drink boba teas and go to Ming Hen. And why is Chinatown there? Because a black banker by the name of Jesse Benga was one of the only bankers who would loan money to the Asian Americans who were buying property in Armour Square. So we're connected, whether we know it or not. And, I'm looking forward to building relationships. And then I want to do it the other way, right? I want to put people on my bus and take them to the Swedish American Museum, take them to the Polish American Museum, take them to the National Puerto Rican Heritage Museum, and show how we're really intertwined and we're better together.
Man,
I'm fangirling over here.
Yeah, you've got two fans, and you got four fans in the studio, all of us of the work, but specifically Natalie Ziemba is here with us, and of course Karen Byrne from True Blue Politics. I know they've got a couple of comments they want to throw your way.
I think you are extraordinary. This is Natalie, and I just want to say, I am big-time fangirling. I am a product of the South Side of Chicago. I grew up real close to Comiskey Park in Bridgeport, near Pilsen. Most of my family, immediate family is still in that area. And, that area of the city is has a little bit of a... there's some spotty history there, for sure. We're proud of it being a community of churches, a community of immigrants, for sure, but it was a very segregated part of the city, right? You knew if you're on one side of Halsted, you're kind of with these people. If you're on this side of Halsted, streets not to cross, areas of Bridgeport to enter and not. You kind of learn, okay, it's also a really neat part of the city because I can walk to the corner, get on the bus, and be downtown in 15 minutes. Or I can, if I want to hike it over to Chinatown, I can pretty easily, right? I can get to the lakefront. I can take 31st Street and just get to the lake. So, growing up in that part of the city taught me a lot. Grittiness, resilience, and I'm real proud of that. But I'm also very aware of I don't sugarcoat things, right? I know where I grew up, and I know that it has a tarnished history as well. It's the community, it's the neighborhood of mayors, and for good or bad, it is, right? It's the 11th Ward. So I grew up kind of with, politics in my blood, so to speak.
Yeah.
They're working hard to shed that over there in Bridgeport, too, which I appreciate. There's a place called Stutzy's Diner that's on 35th and Halsted. Used to be the Bridgeport Diner was the name of it. And it's such a Chicago story. I try to get through it as fast as I can. A black man's car ran out of gas, leaving a Sox game, trying to get back to, I believe, Inglewood, and it cuts off right in front of Stutzy's. This is in the early 1970s. And so, as you mentioned, there have been some people in Bridgeport that wasn't really fans of having black folks in the neighborhood. And so he tells his family, hey, I'm going to get out and run so the guys chase me, and then you guys try to find some help. And so he does that, and he gets chased, and eventually he gets caught and attacked. His daughters and his wife try to run into the Bridgeport Diner, but they lock the door and won't let them in. And then the people who lived in the apartments above them start throwing food items down at these little girls. And fast forward now to 2025, those little girls own the diner.
Amazing.
They own Stutzy's.
Awesome.
Right,
yeah,
and that's the trans. And you know what? When you walk in there, you see people from Bridgeport and Canaryville of all types of colors, and that's a sign of progress, in my opinion. And so, your Bridgeport and some other areas too, right? Mount Greenwood and so many things. But it also happened in the reverse, right? That's one of the things that I'm pushing very hard. I'm going to be pushing in this role. I'm sure kids in Bridgeport were told don't go to Inglewood, right? I'm sure kids in Canaryville were told to stay out of Roseland. So the more we learn about each other and the gems and the history that can be found in these spaces, the more we'll go, the more we'll be connected, and Chicago can continue to be the light of the country. The country needs Chicago right now with everything that's going on. We're going to end up being a beacon of light, and the politicians out of Chicago and our governor and so many other people are getting ready to be very, very important to continuing democracy, if we're being honest. And history is going to play a big role in that.
Sherman, one of the things that's so great about what you just said, your last 2 or 3 sentences, is Chicago is the light. We're the center right now because so much of the people that are standing up on a national level are coming out of Chicago and the state of Illinois. And that's not just me being a homer. That's evidenced by the people, whether it be Mayor Johnson, City Council, Ms. Preckwinkle, Governor Pritzker. Our folks are standing up. And I think part of that is in the nature of who we are as Chicagoans and the greater communities in the suburbs. We're fighters here. Yep. You know, the reason that we take on the label of Second City with pride is because we know how to fight. And you are one of those people as well. And one of our colleagues and one of your boys, in Jamal Cole, we had him on last week. And you guys are unapologetic about the greatness of Chicago. And you guys have stepped up and said, listen, we're going to talk about our city, all of our city. And this is one of the things why I'm so proud of what you're doing, because you reached out to other communities to say we're all connected. That's even though we've got these linear splits in neighborhoods, we're still connected. And you've leaned into that. And you've taken some heat from folks from different communities that have said, why are you doing it that way? But because you believe in the strength of our unity. And that can't be, it can't be overstated. And I got to continue to give you your flowers there, man. I appreciate that part of the work that you're doing.
Man, thank you. In the words of the great theologian Meek Mills, if you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping. Yeah. So I realized that, right, that if, I must be doing something right, that people that could be spending time with their family or walking their dog attack me on Twitter just because I won't say negative things about folks here in Chicago. And we're not perfect. We got a lot of things that we need to work through. But even our issues find root historically and a few things, right? It's usually outside forces and people trying to make a ton of money that end up dividing us and splitting us. That's right. When in reality, we all want the same things. And so, again, being able to operate out of this institution and bring people to the institution where, I'm right this very moment, we're planning a engagement with Tanya Lozano and Brother Rami from the Inner City Muslim Action Network to have a conversation behind what we're all experiencing and seeing right now. Prior to the presidential election, there was a little tension between the black community and the Arab community and the brown community, and everyone didn't feel like each other was voting in each other's interests. But on the other side of that, and everything that's going on today, we want to have a conversation about what's dividing these communities and how can we unite these communities through shared struggles and shared benefits. And so you're right, I'm going to continue to reach across to other communities. I had the good fortune of being raised by a Chicago policeman, and my dad was at one point vice president of the African American Police League, and he was a cop for 32 years. But he had buddies that were also cops that lived everywhere. We would be all over the city going to see his friends, and the only difference in their races when we went and visited them was the food, right? Some people had more seasoning. That was it. Everything else was exactly the same. Their kids were getting yelled at like I was getting yelled at, and all that other good stuff. And so, I'm glad I had that experience, because I really think that's can be the atypical Chicago experience.
Sherman, thank you for being with us. We're going to have you back after you kind of get your plane landed and you're making some things happen at DuSable to talk about projects that you are working on, and bring us up to speed on things that people need to know about the museum and the outreach and ways for folks to come and see some of the exhibits and some of the things that you're going to be doing. So we want to have you back. We're probably going to have you back on a monthly basis, my man, because what you're doing and your position and your belief system needs to be heard not only by those that are here locally, but folks that are throughout the rest of the country as it relates to unity. So, Sherman, thank you so much for being with us. How can folks find you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on social media. My username is at @6FigureDilla, the number 6, FIGGA _DILLA. Please come book a Chicago Mahogany tour at ChicagoMahogany.com. And, I'm easy to find. I'll definitely be at the DuSable.
Absolutely. Thanks, man, for being with us. Happy Valentine's Day from one brother to another.
You too, my brother.
All right, man. Be well. Be safe.